Hello there, everyone. Sorry for the hiatus. Making content is not my forte, but I have been trying to take all the great advice everyone's given me, and hopefully in this video the mic is louder, and hopefully um, I can stop saying so much. Anyway, today we'll be talking alchemy, and I also have a dungeon priority upgrade prioritization video in the works. I'll also be doing a sampling series for World 4. That's been a bit delayed as I'm trying to get as many of the World 4 upgrades as possible so I can showcase them all so that it's not, outdated the second it comes out. So go ahead and look forward to that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, this introduction has gone on long enough, so let's talk some alchemy. I've stooped to the I'm making a tier list level of creation, content creation that is, but I think it'll work quite well for alch bubbles, I hope. I'll also be adding some context to each bubble as I rank them to give a better idea of why I'm ranking them there because some of these basically depend heavily on your overall account's growth. So we'll go over those when we get there, but ideally, this gives you a general idea of where, how powerful each bubble is and what to focus on. Also, I'll not be focusing too much on the cost of the bubble, but sometimes the cost will come into play of why I rank a bubble where. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin with bubble 1 for each cauldron. So, bubble 1 is the base stat upgrade for each, and I'm going to go ahead and put those, I'd say B tier for these two, and C only for the mage. Basically, I'm giving B tier for the agility and strength bubbles because they are very easy to level through printer. Um, you can sample a ton more copper and wood than you can thread. Thread is very difficult in comparison. That said, these bubbles, they're fine, they're good, but overall they contribute a lot less of your overall stats than gear will. They are very good though. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in the B tier. Then we got bubble 2 for each. And regardless of cost, these are all gonna go into S. 1, 2, 3. The reason they're S tier is because early on they're extremely easy to level up until about level 75, and they boost just so many bubbles that it's like leveling all of your bubbles with each level into these. So definitely prioritize those ones. Very, very valuable. Next up we have bubble 3. And I will be swapping, so bubble 3 for warriors and mages is an efficiency bonus, whereas bubble 3 for archers is the hammer big bubble. So obviously we're gonna go ahead and talk about. Let's go ahead and do Hardy Diggy first. Hardy Diggy is the mining upgrade towards your mining efficiency based on your HP. Very strong bubble. You will want to prioritize this one fairly well for as basically mining samples are very important towards overall account growth. The higher your mining samples, the higher everything that costs mining supplies grows. So it's a really strong bubble. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the A tier. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the mage one because mage bubble 3 is very similar to the warrior bubble 3, and it's also going to go into A tier. So let's find it. There it is, A tier. Again, reason why it boosts your woodcutting samples and everything that costs woodcutting samples by proxy because you get to push those bubbles farther and any other account upgrades. So I'll give them A tier, very strong. Next up, we have the third bubble for archers, which is hammer, and I guess there is bubble 3 here, but I'm just gonna go hammer now. So I mean, the third or the big bubble being hammer. Anyway, very strong. One of the better big bubbles in the game. I find myself using it almost constantly, and smithing items are in high demand, and you can't print them like you can most of the other supplies in the game. So, Hammer, gonna go ahead and give that S tier for a big bubble. And spoiler alert, most of the big bubbles are gonna have either S or A tier, just depending. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get onto the fourth bubble. Wyoming Blood for Warriors up first. Wyoming Blood, very strong. Again, it's a insane boost to your mining samples, and just your mining gains overall. Very strong. Gotta go ahead and put that in the S tier. Next, we have the fourth bubble. Again, the big bubble for mages, Multolago. And I apologize if me saying the fourth bubble when obviously it's the fourth in chronological order that you unlock rather than it having a 4 on it. Blame Lava for that, not me. It's hard. The nomenclature's hard. Anyway, gonna go ahead and give that S tier as well for the same reasons mentioned earlier. For archers, however, the fourth bubble is Mastery, and this one's an interesting one. It's the third bubble. It's bubble 3, fourth bubble, whatever. Mastery. It gives you percent mastery. Honestly, this bubble isn't all that important. It's good for your active character if you are playing actively, but it doesn't boost your AFK damage very much, and it's not even the greatest boost towards active play. There's better bubbles. It's a fine bubble, but something's got to be bad in comparison to others, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a D tier because it's just not that useful. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to get stuck there. And next up, we have the fifth bubble in order. Um, that being really smart for the warriors. It says bubble 4 on it, but it is the fifth bubble. It is mining and fishing XP gains. Again, it's nice, it's somewhat useful, but something's got to be less than ideal, and it's just not something I'd heavily prioritize because the overall XP gain you get from it is fairly low compared to other sources of XP. Like for instance, you'll just get more XP by leveling your hardy diggy to get more efficiency, that kind of deal. So, and I'm also gonna go ahead and talk about the mage fifth bubble now because it's again very similar to the warriors one. It is new double, weird. It's a chopping and alchemy XP gain, and again, it's just not a huge increase. It's just not a very powerful bubble, so it's going to go ahead and get the D tier treatment. Next up, we got Anvil Knox for the fifth bubble on archers. Now we're all in line again. Anvil Knox, it wasn't even particularly strong before, and especially with World 4, money is kind of lost a lot of its value from World 4 gains, but even before that, it was never a highly prioritized bubble. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the F tier because it's just not all that strong. It's really easy to level, but it just doesn't do a lot. So, all right, now we're going to move on to the sixth bubble. Big meaty claws, quick slap, and name, I guess. So bubble 5 for all of them. And I'm going to go ahead and give them all the same rank since they're basically just base damage depending on some condition. Problem is base damage isn't particularly great, especially again with World 4 damage bonuses, with how damage works now. The base damage from these bubbles just is not very powerful. And a lot of them are also kind of a pain to level. So for all those reasons, they're all going to get stuck into F tier. Before World 4, I probably would have given them like C or D tier, but nowadays, nope. They're just not worth the effort to level, in my opinion. So, with those out of the way, we're going to go on to the sixth bubble for warriors. That is, making sure I didn't miss one. Yeah, sixth bubble is Yeah, 6 bubble, or 7 bubble, something like that. The fishing big bubble. That's where we're at. Sploosh Sploosh. Again, big bubble, better samples. It's going to go up in the S tier. And same with the Bug Squared from Archer. It's going to go ahead into S tier, that one. For mages, you have Le Brain Tools as your 7th bubble. That one is tool power. And going to go ahead and put all the tool power ones in the same area as A. They're all very strong. So, Warrior one, Archer one, and last but not least, the Mage one. All of them are A. You'll notice I'm also leaving the Kazam Cauldron for last. It's just the cauldron with the most unique upgrades, so we're just going to go through those at the end. So anyway, tool power bubbles, great, very strong, helps your samples, really, really good. You want them high. Next up we have FMJ for warriors. That is the 7th bubble, 8th in order, or not 9th in order, 9th. Anyway, where is it? Yeah, it's 9th. VII. I wish these bubbles were easier to read. So FMJ is a unique one, and it's one of those ones that I was talking more about your overall accounts upgrades. FMJ at the beginning of your accounts adventures, very strong, really, really great bubble. Later on, you just become able to basically survive anything, especially AFK. And FMJ only really matters towards an active character if you are using an active character. FMJ's effect is actually really strong. It's one of the best, if not the best, source of defense in the game. Uh, it's an incredibly powerful bubble, but because defense just doesn't matter as much as long as you just like pour food onto your characters, I'm gonna go ahead and force to give FMJ a C. It's just not as powerful as some other ones. And again, going to the next one for archers, that is Shakracy, and basically the same things apply, except I'm actually going to give it a D tier because accuracy matters less, in my opinion, than defense. So Shakracy, sorry, but you're going into D tier. For mages, Brustachio is their 7th bubble, 9th in order, whatever. And Brustachio is just a very weak bubble. Its effect is hardly noticeable. Basically, it only gives you minimal brew speed gains for your cauldrons, and it does nothing if your guys are on water besides giving you a bit more XP. For optimizing alchemy XP gains, it's fine, but alchemy XP is more of a time gated thing. And honestly, once you get to like the 70s, the alchemy XP is extremely hard to get more of. So, gonna go ahead and give that an F tier. It's just not an important bubble. I wouldn't focus on it very much. Moving on, we have Bappity Boopity for Warrior. It is a incredibly mediocre bubble in my opinion. Crit damage is just not the very compelling effect. It barely does anything towards AFK damage, and I mean, really all that it's for is pushing big numbers on your task board. So, gonna go ahead and put Bappity Boopity in F tier. It's just not that great. Next up is Cheap Shot for archers, and basically the exact same problem for it. It just its effect is really really minimal. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a D tier. It's good for your active character. It's like an okay source of crit. Just expensive and not particularly worthwhile leveling. So its effect is just overall too small. And for mages, the last one we got what we got next is all for kill. And that's your attacks give higher, basically AFK damage than they normally would. It's actually a pretty strong bubble. I wouldn't focus on it an incredibly large amount, but it's a strong bubble. I'm going to go ahead and give it B tier. Actually, it's like between B and C. Honestly, either of these two would work. I'm going to go ahead and give it B, but it's like B minus C plus to, next up, we have the damage percent bubbles for each of the classes, and they are very strong. Bojack, Brittly Spears, and Matty Stafford. Very strong bubbles. Can't complain. Quite good. Gonna go ahead and give them A tier. All three of them. They're a very strong source of damage. One of the bigger ones in the game, actually. So, gonna go ahead and give those A tier. And damage, while not that important, you will need it. So, they're just a really good source of it. Next up, we have Call Me Bob for Warriors, excuse me. And I'm actually going to give this one. So when World 3 first started, it probably would have been S, if not like A plus S tier. I'm actually going to give it, it's like between A and B tier. I'm going to give it B tier. Construction has just lost a lot of its use ever since prayers got capped. You do definitely want to have one character, mostly your squire, or squires if you have multiple, using the con bubble. Pretty much all times. I think pushing con on one character is good, but because you won't be using it on multiple characters, it's just not as important for your overall account progression. You will want to level it up. It is a good bubble, so me giving a B tier, don't get me wrong, it is important to have. It's just not the most important thing for overall account progression. So next up, we got Call Me Ash for archers, and basically gonna give it an A tier. It's very strong, especially because you can just equip it, place your traps down, and you basically get a free trap out of it. So it's quite strong, especially early on. Later on, when you have higher tiered traps, it loses a little bit of its effect, especially if you can't reach the efficiency bonus needed for a particular critter that you're going for. But it's still a strong bubble, so wouldn't write it out. Next up, we have Call Me Pope for mages. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in B tier now as well. Prayers, this is mostly for pushing prayer levels. And because prayers got capped, it's just a little bit less powerful than it used to be. Still good. You'll definitely want it. I usually just put it on my wizard and a couple other characters if they're not using hammer. I just wouldn't focus it as hard, especially because crabs are a little bit harder, or crabos, excuse me, are a little bit harder to get than other things. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in B tier. It also looks like I forgot Cooking Roadkill. How could I forget it? It just got buffed recently, and by buffed I mean it's properly working now. So Cooking Roadkill, gonna go ahead and give that in the B tier because it's again one of those ones you could put on your shaman, you can put on your maestro. It's good on both those classes. Maestro because with Crystal Countdown, it helps boost your alchemy, your overall alchemy level on the maestro, and a higher leveled maestro can help your entire team. It's worse now that Crystal Countdown got changed, but overall it's still good. So I would put it in B tier. Honestly, it's C tier. It's like between B and C, but we're gonna give it C tier. Now that the cooldown reduction for actually works properly, it's kind of neat for shamans. You can do some fun things like maybe getting 2 a day in conjunction with the post office box that gives you cooldown reduction as well. It's tedious. If you want to use it, you can though. So gonna go ahead and give it a C. All right, back to where we were. Now we got Carpenter for warriors, and this bubble is really strong. It looks like a relatively small upgrade, but if you need build speed, and you will need build speed, Carpenter is where you get it. And Carpenter, awesomely strong. Gonna go ahead and give it an A tier. Strong bubble, great. Next up we got Cause I Catch 'Em All on archers. That one is the multiplier towards shiny chance. Excuse me. Fine bubble. The thing is, shiny snitch exists, and in conjunction with shiny snitch, man, that is so hard to say. It's good, but it's just not like a huge priority. I'm gonna go ahead and give it C tier. Nothing to write home about. You push it when you can, but don't focus too hard on it. Next up, we got Gospel Leader. This used to give prayer XP, now it's fixed and doesn't. So it's just max charge. Again, another one of those. It's push if you got it, but its overall effect isn't that insane. Gonna go ahead and give it D tier. Nice and useful to have for your wizard. You can ignore prayer for more time on end, but it's just not that important of a bubble. Next up, we have Buff Boy Talent, which is talent points, Fast Boy Talent, and Smart Boy Talent. Yeah. So all of the extra talent points for each of the different classes. Gonna go ahead and lump all of them into B tier. They're strong. You definitely want to try to push these up. They give you a lot more power to work with, but they're not end all be all. You don't need them, so I wouldn't put them in S or A. But they're good, strong bubbles. Excuse me. And lastly, for the World 3 bubbles, we have the bargains for each of the colored cauldrons. And these ones are great. We're going to go ahead and plop those into A tier. They are awesome. You want them high. And this one. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Nothing to really say there. I mean, it's as you level those up, it's like you're leveling up all your other bubbles. Because let's say you have 2 million copper or something, and you can level one bubble twice. Well, if you get your bonus reduction, maybe you can level it 4 times with that 2 million copper. So again, they just boost your overall bubbles and how quickly your account progresses. So great bubbles. Definitely don't sleep on them. All right, next up we have the money percent for each of uh, the classes. Excuse me. And yeah, really strong. Uh, kind of a little absurdly strong. They will be your main sources of money, honestly. So gonna go ahead and give all of those A tier. I wish he made these bubbles a little easier to read, but there they are. All three of them are going in A tier. They're just gonna be able to basically fund your entire World 4 and beyond experience. So great bubbles, level them as you can. By the time you get to World 4, they shouldn't be terribly expensive. So great bubbles. Nothing bad to say about them. Next up, we have the uh, basically the doubling bubbles for specific bubbles, if that makes sense. We've got the multi-orange, Premigreen, Severa Purple, however you say them. Gray bubbles, stupidly strong. I'm actually going to give these S. They are kind of absurdly powerful. Maybe too powerful in my opinion, but until they get nerfed, that's where they're going, in S tier. Just really dumb powerful bubbles. Next up we have Dream of Ironfish for Mage, Warrior. That is the AFK gains for mining and fishing. Great bubble. I'm actually going to give that A tier. AFK gains, amazing. And it gives you for 2 skills for the price of 1. For Archer, you got Fly and Mind. And that one, I'm going to give... It's slightly lower than the Warrior one because Warrior's buffs 2, whereas this one is just 1. But it's not low enough. It's not much less that I would put in B tier, so it's less important than the Warrior one, but still very strong. And for Mage, you got the chopping AFK. Gonna go ahead and put that in A tier. Quite good. Same thing though. The warrior one is actually the best of those three bubbles, so focus that one as much as you can. Next up, we have Shimmer on. That is additional gold food effect. Very strong. So it is doubled, or not doubled. It's actually more than doubled, but it gets boosted by warriors bubble 2. So it's very, very strong on warriors because warriors have 2 gold foods that affects skilling. The golden peanuts and the golden meat ribs from World 4 that affect fishing. So very great bubble, super, super duper strong. Gonna go ahead and put that in A tier. Next up we have kill per kill for archers. Um, kind of a crappy bubble, not gonna lie. It's expensive and it's basically um base multi kill. It sucks. No who, how, or why about it. It probably is D tier, but I dislike it so much I'm gonna give it F tier. It's like between D and F. It's just not a great bubble. It costs way too much for it, so I wouldn't focus it at all. Gonna go ahead and put that in F. And then we have Hyper Swift for Mage. Super good bubble. Amazing bubble. Uh, Actually, gonna put an A. They're because mages and warriors have higher attack speed weapons now with World 4. It's a little less important. If World 4 didn't have those, I would probably put an S tier, but it's a very strong bubble, so don't sleep on it. Last but not least, for warriors, we have Bite Not Chew. It's a percent to not consume food chance. Big bubble. Because it's a big bubble, it's not great to lose one of your big bubble slots just so you consume less food. And there's a stasis upgrade from a jewel, I think, that makes it so you consume less food. So this one kind of is obsolete right when it came out. Gonna go ahead and give it F, unfortunately. Next we have AFK XP for archers. Great bubble. It's between B and C tier. I'm gonna go ahead and put in B tier. It's fine bubble. I would level it up. It's a good way to get more XP. And then last but not least, we have Matrix Evolved. Fine bubble. It's not the most important, but you will be having a lot of characters in stasis at a lot of times, so it's a good bubble. I would focus on it, but not like too much. Gonna go ahead and put it in B. It's between B and C, so. And now we can go through the Kazam Cauldron. These ones are generally more powerful or more useless. There's very little in between. So first up, we got Lotto Skills. Lotto Skills is plus luck. It's fine. I would go ahead and put it in B tier. It is more expensive to level than the other ones, but luck is also a better stat than the other ones. So next up, we have Dropping Loads. That is plus drop rate, and that is a great bubble. Gonna go ahead and give that A tier. Just fantastic bubble. Drop rate is super important. Next up, we have leveling Star Chew XP. Basically giving you more effective statues in a roundabout way. It's a fine bubble. It's kind of expensive to level up with 2 mob drops. So I wouldn't focus on it too much. I'm going to go ahead and give it C. Next up, we have Level Up Gift. There are a few items you can only get through Level Up Gift. So I would equip it until you get them. Just for the looty stacks, and there's like 2 stamps in there that are kind of nice. I wouldn't focus on it too much. It's kind of easy to level, and it becomes diminishing returns around like 50 pretty quickly. So I'm gonna go to give it C tier. It's fine. Gives you some nice things towards the early game. Next up on the list, we have Prowessory. Prowessory is on the short list of best bubbles in the game. Gonna go ahead and give it S, but like at the front of the list. It's so good. It affects basically every skill in the game, and is one of the more powerful ones. So yeah, S tier. pretty much hands down. Next up, we have Stamp Tramp, basically increasing toilet paper postage talent, and it's good. It finally works now, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it B tier. It's great. Next up, we have Undeveloped Costs. Again, this is just blanket cost reduction on your bubbles. Fantastic. Putting it in S tier. It's just not even debatable. It's really, really good. Next up, we got the Daily Drip. It gives you max capacity, but it's kind of expensive. And max capacity also isn't like the most important of stats. I'll give it a C tier. It's okay. Fine. Level it when you can. Next up, we have Grind Time. Grind Time is a controversial bubble. I think it's highly overrated, but it's still a fine bubble. It takes a big bubble slot, which is kind of expensive because your big bubbles, are very powerful, as you can see with a lot of them up in S tier. That being said, you only use the skilling ones when you're skilling, so I'm gonna go ahead and give Grind Time B tier. It's good. You want it high leveled, but again, don't waste too much water on it if you have other things to use it on, basically. Next up, we have Larry. Larry is a weird bubble. Basically, it's more effective levels, and it's very strong. It's ridiculously strong. You'll want to level it as high as possible. It's S for sure, but you basically try to get to like 50% chance, and then after that, level it only when you can. It does get really expensive, so yep, Larry's great. Next up, we have cogs for hands. Basically, increased cog production rate. It's fine. Nothing insane. Gonna go ahead and give it C tier. It's fine, but slightly expensive in that it costs melty cubes. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Level it when you can, kind of deal. Next up, we have sample it. Sample size when taking 3D printer samples. This is a good one, but the thing is, the Royal Sampler prayer exists and is far cheaper and far more efficient to use than trying to get sample cap through other ways, if that's even possible. I don't think it is. So, due to all of that, I'm gonna give sample it C tier. It's fine. You can level it when you can. If you for some reason don't want to use Royal Sampler, it's okay. But I would just use Royal Sampler. So C tier is where it's at. Next up, we have Big Game Hunter. This got its effect change, and it is very strong now. If you have an active character, highly suggest always using this on your reset, and probably up until your giants are like 100k or more chance. You get so many more effective gems and candies through this bubble, so highly recommended. Great, can't complain. Next up, we have Ignore Overuse. Very strong bubble. More books is higher talent levels. Higher talent levels means more efficient sampling, better kills per hour. Just great bubble. Can't complain. The talent library is very strong, and this bubble is one of the best effects to get it. So next up, we have Yellow Bargain. Now, as you'll see, there's a lot of yellow bubbles. Like, yellow bubbles are generally at least fine, and some of them are insanely busted. So the bargain helps you get to the point where those bubbles are busted, like amazing faster. So yellow bargain is great. Don't sleep on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give yellow bargain A tier. Only reason it's A tier, not S tier, is because it costs pingies to level, and pingies are pain. So, yep, yellow bargain right there. Next up, we have Mr. Massacre. Mr. Massacre, absurdly powerful bubble. Multi-kill per tier, helps your samples. Fantastic bubble. I can't even say much about it. It's just a very, very strong big bubble. Helps you push portals faster. It's just great. Next up, we have Egg Ink. So this helps the World 4 breeding skill. And as far as I've seen, so with these World 4 ones, especially the Kazam ones, it's hard for me to get a good gauge on it. But as far as I've seen, the Egg Ink one is just fine. I'll go ahead and give it B tier for now. It might change up like to A or S tier later on. Like maybe it scales really powerfully, but it's just really hard to push at the moment. So next up we have Diamond Chef. Diamond Chef, great. It's a good way to increase your speed. So, oh wait, I put the wrong one. Whoopsies, right there. Because this is Diamond Chef, right? Yes. Yeah, this one's Diamond Chef. Gonna go ahead and give it B tier as well. Actually, I'll give that A tier. A tier for Diamond Chef. It is quite strong. Cooking speed seems powerful right now. So, gonna go ahead and put that there. Next, we got Card Champ. It's okay. With the World 4 adding a higher need for cards, it's kind of good, but again, it's just really expensive to level for what it does. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put it in D tier for as right now. Maybe it's better later, but I don't think so. And Petting the Rift, I don't know where Petting the Rift is gonna go. We're gonna go ahead and give it F tier right now because it does literally nothing. But maybe Petting the Rift becomes insane later on. Who knows? But currently, right now, it does nothing. I would level it if you have the critters. So yeah, hopefully that clears up some bubble, confusion. Uh, and I did say I would talk about vials and pay to win. Basically, pay to win, especially with World 4's release. I would try to focus the cauldrons as much as you can. You'll also want, basically, in order, I would focus liquids first. Always level up your bottom right, the XP or speed buff that you get from your characters. That one is insanely important. Then I would focus on your liquid rates. You want as much liquid as possible. The more liquid you get, the faster your alchemy will grow. So for pay to win, definitely go in that order as far as allocating your money. But with World 4's release, the um, cost of pay to win has kind of scaled down. You just get a lot more money nowadays. So yeah, Alch Speed, Extra XP first. Then the liquids tabs on all three of the liquids that you have unlocked. You'll want to get your vials up as well, but it's fairly cheap. And then I would go about maxing cauldrons. And as far as vials go, there is an efficient unlock route. I could, you know, maybe rank those at some point, but it doesn't really matter. Just unlock them. um, Standout vials are something like Jungle Juice, which gives you liquid rate, very strong. The ones that give capsize are pretty nice because I mean you will want enough capsize to AFK for as long as you need to. Um, you know, but for vials you kind of just level them when you can, unlock them when you can. I wouldn't focus too much on them. Like you can't get a lot of gains from them, so don't sweat it too much on those. But yeah, hopefully this video is helpful. And like I said, I've got a dungeon point allocation video coming soon, and after that I will be doing the sampling series. Hopefully I can get better at not saying anymore. But yeah, thanks all for tuning in, and hope this helps.